they need.
Mr. Georgia Gould.
Thank you, Dr. Alan Khan, and thank you to the Honourable Member for South Cotswold for bringing forward this important debate. And I think just listening to the strength of feeling from everyone in this room shows how important it is. And I feel that today the voices of children and families from every part of the country were heard in this chamber. It was such a powerful discussion. And partly because so much work has gone on to hear from voices around the country, to set up listening exercises in constituencies. And I know the Honourable Member from Dartford said that there was a report coming to the Secretary of State, and many have written in, but I would like to take the time to meet with those who spent so much time with their constituents and hear directly from you, because I know that 1 minute, 2 minutes is not enough time to get across the kind of depth of these issues and the depth of concern. I am very much looking forward to the Education Select Committee report. The Chair spoke powerfully about coming out this week, and I hope we can spend time together. I know it's been deeply researched to hear your findings, or the Honourable Member's findings. And I'd like to thank the parents who've sat through the debate at the back for bringing their voices into this room. And I know how hard it is for many parents of children with special educational needs to travel. So the over 125,000 parents who signed this petition, even if they're not in this room today, their voices have very much been heard. And I'm
Indeed, from the Send rally to the petition and also the Lib Dems in Hertfordshire, we've got our Send Summit today. Those voices are being heard, and I do thank the Minister today who met with Rachel and Susie from my constituency. But I just wanted to have her guarantee that voices, because, for example, Susie has development language disorder and often feels invisible, and just to make sure they truly are heard and those individual needs of children are brought forward for proper provision.
Yeah. Thank you. And Susie gave me a flag to remember those young people with speech and language issues, and that will be in my office, and it will be those voices, those young people that I think about every day in this job. And I'm grateful to all the organisations and the parents that have met me, and to the member for Thurrock who hosted a really powerful round table earlier and a drop-in, so I could hear from amazing schools who were leading inclusive practice, who want to do this work, who want to work with the government. And I ran a council for 7 years. I spent 14 years in local government, and I met so many parents in my own borough and in many others who told me the problems with the system that we've heard really powerfully today. Parents who could see issues were starting early, but they weren't listened to. They had to fight for support. Parents who found that there was no support available until there was a diagnosis, and we heard so many stories of those months, sometimes years, that parents and young people had to wait. Parents who found that not just education but wider services weren't set up for their children, whether that's playgrounds or youth services, or were living in very overcrowded housing and finding it so difficult to manage their children's needs. And parents who couldn't find local schools that could meet their children's needs, and parents who, and we heard examples of this today, who have had to give up work to be able to support their children. And I've met children who don't feel comfortable going to school because of the experiences they had. I met a young girl earlier who was talking to me about some of the trauma she found from having to go to school that wasn't set up to meet their needs. And I've also, I'm going to make way, because I know we don't have much time and there were so many different comments. But some of the other stories I've heard is from young people who found when they were applying for college that their EHC plans hadn't been updated since they were very young, and they were finding that colleges said that they couldn't meet needs. And I think some of the hardest stories that we've heard today and that people have given me is where they've had to fight every single year, and their child is now maybe 18, and they can see all the missed opportunities, and they feel so deeply let down. And children who've lost confidence in the support that's available. And too many parents feel they have to arm up for battle when interacting with a system, who don't want to resort to tribunal, but feel that that is the only way sometimes they get support. And the honourable member for Mansfield said that parents are exhausted, and that's what parents so often say, that they're exhausted by having to fight. And so many parents actually say, and it's heartbreaking, that they feel broken by the system. And so I wholeheartedly agree with the honourable member from Walthamstow who criticised the comments made by Reform leadership that attacks parents who are just fighting for their children to get the support they need. Because I know parents will never give up because they want to support their children. So I don't think we can start this discussion without acknowledging how many children and families have been badly let down by the system. But so many people interacting in the system are also struggling. Teachers who don't feel like they have the right training or support to meet need in the classroom. We've also heard that from so many. Schools who want more specialist support for their children, speech and language, but don't have access to it. And local authorities who didn't get the investment they needed to build a local offer, so were paying for expensive private provision far away from communities. I'll give way.
I thank the Honourable Lady for outlining many of the problems in the system. She's now had 6 out of her 10 minutes, and she hasn't told us what the government is going to do. Could I press her to actually tell us what the government is actually going to do?
Well, I think it's just very important that we hear from parents. And when I spoke to them yesterday, one of the things they said to me was that it's critical to hear from ministers, from the government, that we understand the challenges that they face before we've moved forward. But there is also some amazing practice going on, and we also heard that today. Schools that are supporting children and young people, teaching assistants who are investing in that support, and a wonderful example from Colne Valley about neurodiversity training that's been put in place. I'm going to make way. And I visited a school this morning that is doing amazing work to provide support within the classroom and to provide mainstream provision for children and young people. And so the children that I meet have big dreams and they deserve the chance to thrive. And the Secretary of State for Education has made it absolutely clear that under this government, no child will be left behind, and we will reform the system so children with special educational needs are at the heart of the education system. And there will always be a legal right to additional support for children and young people with special educational needs. And as I approach this new role, there are a number of principles that are guiding me. Firstly, that the voices of children, young people and their families, of teachers and those supporting them have to be at the forefront of reform. I'll make way because we don't have much time. And over the last year, the Secretary of State and my predecessor has spent a huge amount of time with families to make sure that their voices are heard. But secondly, children should get support when they need it as early as possible.
So on that 10-second point, with my 10-minute rule bill, I've given you good ideas to take forward. Will you look at including these in the white paper?
I sat in the honourable member's 10-minute rule bill, and I heard the honourable member speak so powerfully about their personal journey, and I think that this chamber, this house, is a better place because you're in it. I think the points that the honourable member have raised about investing in teacher training across the board are critically important and have to be part of the future. Secondly, children, the second principle I wanted to set out that I think we've heard from almost every speaker is that children need to get support when the issues first appear, that early intervention has to be the basis of reform. Thirdly, that children with special educational needs shouldn't have to go miles away from their families and communities to get the right support. We need to invest in support within our communities. And that finally, the support for young people to thrive is not just for schools. I think I heard the word collaboration, co-design so many times in this debate. So it's about play, it's about youth clubs, it's about local health services, it's about workplaces that celebrate neurodiversity. This is 1 in 5 of our young people. We all know somebody who has special educational needs. And those individuals, they bring so much creativity, so many ideas And so I've got 29 seconds. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that in those 14 years of local government, I saw so many families let down. So my commitment is, as we move forward, that we need to work with the parents who've turned up, the parents who've signed the petition, to get this right for families and to set out reforms that really transform young